ignored or shut down for your own emotions when all you're trying to do is express them? Well, I have. The first time I remember when I felt like this was in 5th grade. I was ignored, just deemed too energetic and unfocused, when in reality, I was extremely anxious, nervous, and self-conscious. Self-conscious about what others thought about me. I was never the smartest student in school, but I always worked the hardest. However, parents, teachers, coaches, and friends didn't see it that way. They saw a kid who would constantly freak out. This went on for about 3.5 years before they finally decided to actually listen to me for once. Everyone is talking about mental health, but is anyone listening to the teenagers that are suffering? No one is truly hearing and seeing their problems as they evolve. Adults are trying to create solutions at the end rather than the beginning. They are failing to listen to the teens' emotions and expressions for help early. Mental health is not being brushed off, but fixing all problems at the end is a failure to listen to the real ones as they grow. We believe we'll come into this world perfect, and we'll stay like that forever. We'll be physically and mentally healthy for the rest of our lives. And if we somehow manage to become a bit physically ill or mentally ill, we deem it our fault, when the truth is, it's not. We neglect the fact that these feelings and emotions are a part of this world and will most likely experience them throughout our time of life. And we shouldn't be made fun of for this fact. In fact, it should be quite the opposite. We should be praised and congratulated as we're going through a part of life. In recent studies, it shows that around 1 in 5 teenagers between the ages 12 and 18 suffer from at least one mental health disorder. And around 60% of youth with major depression do not receive any mental health treatment at all. Meaning if there are 5 people in your friend group, at least one of them could be suffering from mental health, and you could have no clue at all. Which brings me to the first part of my journey. Back in elementary school, I had a really close group of friends, but we didn't tell each other everything. Every friend group, you have a stereotypical role casted by outsiders. I was known as the crazy, energized, and flame that was so bright and energetic. But that's only who I was in the public eye, because that's who I thought I had to be liked. I didn't understand that you could be sad or angry or calm, and people would still like you. Because from a young age, I was made to believe that happiness is the only good emotion, which took a lot of learning because any emotion is good because it's an emotion. So every moment I was in front of anyone, whether that be walking on the street, in front of my parents, family, friends, or coaches, I put on this act that I was all right, when in reality, inside, I was panicking, overthinking, wishing I was gone. Invisible. As I grow up, I realize I'm not the only one suffering. Tons of kids around me are going through the exact same thing. Some better than others. But looking at my friend group, I was one in the 1 in 5. I was one who struggled with mental health. But just this year, I found out I was not the only one struggling with mental health. One of my best friends was too. She is and was extremely anxious. She'd dig her fingernails into the sides of her thighs, creating scars, because she was so scared to fail as she felt there was so much pressure on her from her parents to be the best. This is just one friend group. In my elementary school, there were over 750 kids. More than half of them were probably struggling from the exact same thing without anyone even knowing it. You see, this is the problem. We are made to believe that we're meant to be happy and will stay like that forever. Our parents, teachers, and coaches like to believe we are faking our feelings, but we're not. The amount of times I've heard a parent say, "You're not depressed, you're just tired or on your phone too much," when the truth is, the feelings and emotions we are experiencing are very much so real. We have built a society where mental health physically does not exist to the eye, but it does. We need to normalize that it's okay to show emotion. It's okay to struggle with mental health. It's okay to talk about it. Who here has ever seen a man cry? Not in a movie or a play, but right in front of you. A man generally expressing their emotions. As a society, we have built a stigma where men are not allowed to show any emotions. They are meant to be these perfect, strong people with nothing wrong. They are always meant to be happy. They can't be sad or angry. They're meant to be level. This is the problem. Tons of men around us are suffering from mental health. They are suffering in the shadows, and we have a blind eye when it comes to this because we don't want to look for something we'll know we'll find. I have an older brother. I have seen him cry once in my whole 16 years of life. That's crazy to me. What's even crazier is the fact I've known he's cried way more than that, whether that be in his bathroom, bedroom, car, shower, or anywhere he can't be seen. I remember the day exactly he cried. It was a Sunday afternoon, just after lunch, and we were all hanging around doing nothing. My parents were downstairs with my brother having a serious conversation about his future. I was up in my room watching Netflix. I remember being able to hear the difference of opinions being said about my brother's future. I lasted about 30 minutes in my room before I decided to go downstairs and get a snack. I told myself, they're not going to get mad at you. Just go down there and eat, which is what I tried to do. However, when I walked into the kitchen and I looked to the left where the fridge and my brother were sitting, I saw tears coming down his face. I was shocked. In my whole 16 years of life, I've never seen him cry. I was quickly yelled at and I walked out of the room in disbelief. That day, I learned that everyone cries. My whole life, I went thinking that my brother didn't cry, that men didn't cry, that we weren't supposed to show emotion. However, that day, I learned that that's not true, as we have deemed it socially unacceptable for males to cry or show any emotion at all. In men, we commonly see that they are less likely to get diagnosed with mental health disorders, as we have made a stigma where men aren't allowed to cry. We have built a society where they cannot show an emotion. They're not sad or depressed, but they're level, which isn't right. They should be allowed to express emotions just like anyone else. We have a blind eye when it comes to this because we don't want to look for something we'll know we'll find. Everyone deserves help. No one deserves to suffer. As teenagers, we deal with a lot. To look good, to fit in, to stand out. The smallest, prettiest things, they all add up. As teenagers, we constantly put pressure on ourselves. Then along with that, we have the pressure our parents, teachers, coaches, and peers put on us. With that, we're exploding with stress all the time. We're on the verge of tears. For me, I've always had my days constantly filled, thinking about the next thing before I even finish one task. I was never able to look up at the sky and take a deep breath. Until this day, I was never able to let anything go. I have learned how to learn how to let go what I can't control. Because with much help, I am able to look up at the sky, take a deep breath, and feel like I'm floating. You see, this is the problem. We put so much pressure on us teenagers to be the best, to fit in, to stand out, to do good at school, and to just be best. We are barely able to breathe with all this pressure. We're on the verge of exploding. In my life, I've gone through a lot. Through being a kid, through being an athlete, through being even a teenager. But I realize now that there's a lot I can't control. And there's a lot that's wrong in this world. I believe it's time for a change. That change starts with you. Thank you.